Hey, how's it going, guys? Mr. Boss for the win here, and in today's Grand Theft Auto 5 video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about 15 things you might not have known about the gun running update, whether it's some tips and tricks, some secret details, hidden features, and a whole lot more. So we've got a lot to run over today, so let's not waste any more time, and let's get it started. Okay, the first thing that's pretty interesting is that you can actually get busted in Grand Theft Auto Online. So typically the busted feature is reserved for single player only, where if you're playing as one of the single player characters and you have a 1-star wanted level and you don't fire at the police or you're caught, you'll get busted and they'll take you to the police station. They'll remove all your weapons and ammo. And apparently this can happen if you use the weapon system inside the mobile operations center and you get cops on you. So I actually have seen a handful of people tweet this at me, them getting the busted sign on their screen. However, I could not get this to happen. So I tested out a couple things, like I did it with 2 or 3 stars. Maybe that was too high. I tried it with 1 star. The police just ended up shooting at my MOC. So maybe that was a glitch that wasn't intentional. The Rockstar has already hot fixed, but at least for some time you could become busted inside of your mobile operations center, which was kind of interesting because we've never seen anything like that happen before in Grand Theft Auto Online. But we may have discovered something even new now, and that you can't be killed by the police no matter how many times they come after you and however many amounts they do inside the mobile operations center. So as far as battling NPCs go, you're essentially indestructible inside here, and you never have to worry about the cops killing you. And another tip is that if you have cops inside the MOC, all you have to do is leave and they'll be instantly gone. So it works the exact same way too. If you have cops and you leave, they will be gone. If you have cops and you enter, they'll be gone too. So that is tip number 1, and that right there is, in my opinion, pretty interesting. Moving on to tip number 2, did you know that you can use vehicles like the Wastelander and the Vapid Guardian in order to transport the Juggernaut? So the ballistic armor, or the Juggernaut suit, you obviously walk very slow. However, on vehicles like the Wastelander and the Vapid Guardian, which is the truck from Import Export and one of the previous trucks from, I think, the Heist update, the Juggernaut can actually stand on the back and they won't fall off, which is great for not only transporting the Juggernaut, getting it to an area much faster, but also number 2, some of your supply missions will actually require you to become a Juggernaut. So this would be a great way in order to transport them quicker from point A to point B, like moving back to your bunker. So this is a lot of fun. I think there's a couple other vehicles that this might work with too, like some of the flatbed trucks that you can find driving on the highway. And I think the ambulance works the exact same way, but by far the most efficient vehicles to use this on is the Wastelander and the Vapid Guardian. It's so cool to just see the Juggernaut on the back shooting and you just driving at about 100 miles an hour. It gets a little glitchy, but they stay on pretty well as long as you don't flip the vehicle over. All right, tip number 3, did you know that your bunker can actually be raided? So it's very similar to the way the biker clubhouse works or the biker businesses work, that if you accumulate enough stock, you're actually going to be raided. And if you don't respond to this raid, they're going to steal all your stock and your bunker business can even be shut down. So if you see this message, this is something you need to respond to. Now, this has not happened to me personally, probably because I haven't had enough stock in my inventory in order for it to like trigger the event. But I have seen this occur, and it's literally the exact same thing as the biker business. You just have to rush back to your bunker, you have to kill a few people or solve a problem, and then it should be good to go. So yes, it's tedious and it's annoying. I'm not sure if there's any way to get rid of this, like, you know, closing down the session or turning off your console, but bunkers can be raided just like they can in the biker businesses. Okay, tip number 4, there's actually something pretty interesting that happens with the Oppressor bike. So if someone steals your Oppressor bike and you try and kick them off, well, as long as they don't touch the ground, it's actually impossible for them to get kicked off the bike. So essentially, they could steal your bike and take it forever because they can fly around and very rarely have to touch the ground. Well, if that's the case, one way you can solve this is to just return it via the motorcycle club. So this is actually kind of 2 tips in 1 here. So if someone steals your bike, you can simply use the motorcycle club, like return personal vehicle to storage, in order to solve the problem. The bike will disappear from them in midair and they will come crashing to the ground, which is a really funny way to ultimately end up killing a thief. So that right there is tip number 4. Tip number 5, as I mentioned, has to do with the bike as well. The oppressor can be used as one of the bikes in your MOC menu that you can spawn instantly. So if you want your oppressor bike, you don't have to call it via the mechanic. You can simply become a motorcycle club president and then call it in and have it instantly delivered, which is pretty awesome. Kind of a side feature is that it can become your favorite bike, which will actually give you a health bonus when riding on it. So that's actually pretty cool and will make the oppressor way more powerful than it is right now. And moving on, tip number 6, did you know that you can use the Mark II weapons on the bikes as well? So this doesn't apply to the oppressor, but other bikes you can use the Mark II pistol and the Mark II SMG. So keep that in mind, as that now might replace the weapon that you use on bikes, especially if you attach like incendiary rounds or armor piercing or FMJ or anything like that. You can really get a pretty crazy and powerful weapon to now use on the bikes, especially because 2 out of the 6 Mark II weapons are available to be used on there. So I thought that was pretty cool and could be especially useful for your missions. Up next, we get some more information from FunMW2 about how the gun running business sort of works. He states, bunkers take 10 minutes to produce one product. With each upgrade you do, it decreases it by 1.5 minutes. So with staff or equipment upgrade, it's 8.5. With both, it's 7. Research takes 5 minutes, 4.25 minutes with staff or equipment upgrades, and 3.5 minutes with both. If you choose to have the staff separated into manufacturing and researching at the same time, you double up the value by 2. So it would take 20 minutes to produce one product, and research takes 10 minutes. And someone asked a pretty interesting question. They said, when you upgrade your staff, logically your staff wages go up, but what if you upgrade the machines? I'd imagine the machines won't demand a higher salary, right? And what's interesting is even though the machines don't require a higher salary, like technically, you still have to pay them more. The machines pay you $1,600 extra. So that's pretty interesting, as even with the staff and security upgrades, it's $7,800, but you still have to pay the extra $1,600 for the machines. I thought that was pretty interesting. And FunMW2 confirms that the machines do affect the wage as well. By adding that extra $1,600, your now daily total in what you have to pay is $9,400 for everything upgraded. So if you do all the gun running business bunker upgrades, your daily cost is going to be $9,400. So just keep that in mind. It's not that expensive of a cost, but over time that amount will start to add up. So do keep that in mind. Up next, Rockstar has actually removed ground fireworks from modded accounts. So this may be an unfamiliar term for you, but back in the old days, we had ground fireworks. Literally fireworks you could place on the ground, they would explode, they were pretty cool. Rockstar removed those some time ago, but if you had an old modded account, they would have still been there. Well, it looks as like with the gun running update, they have removed those from the modded accounts. So it kind of makes me wonder if they have any plans to bring them back formally in the upcoming Independence Day DLC 2017. We already know a handful of the content that they're going to be adding, but would it be interesting if they brought back the ground fireworks? That has been a request for a long time, and I know the community would really like that, so hopefully that is the case. Up next, if you walk into the ammunition store and you have Mark II weapons, you'll notice that on the wall, those weapons that you have upgraded are going to be blurred out, or they're going to be see-through. This means that you cannot own both weapons at once. So this is a pretty interesting change to the ammunition, that if you actually go inside and you hover over those weapons, it won't allow you to do anything. It won't even allow you to revert them. The only way you can revert the weapons is if you go back to your mobile operations center and you go to the gun workshop bench there. I think Rockstar could have made it a little bit easier, have the option to revert inside the ammunition if you really wanted to, but just note that that's one of the changes that was made to the ammunition store as a result of those new weapons. Moving on, be very careful about destroying all of the weaponized vehicles, as they all have a $20,000 insurance on them. So if someone in an oppressor is bothering you, or someone in an APC is causing trouble, you might want to be careful about consistently blowing them up, because it's going to cost you $20,000 in order to get them back for every single vehicle. So the APC, oppressor, weaponized Tampa, all the new ones are $20,000. So be careful, because if you do like 4, 5, or 6 a day, that's over $100,000 you're giving away to someone else just because you're blowing up their weaponized vehicles. So please be careful about that. Up next, something pretty cool about the Cargo Bob is 2 things. Number 1, it can actually be used in the resupply or stealing missions. So this is the exact opposite of the way it works in the finance and felony stuff, where the Cargo Bob is not allowed to pick up cargo. Well, it is in the gun running stuff. So you can pick up vans, you can pick up things that need to be delivered to the bunker. This is a safer and sometimes more efficient way to deliver items to the bunker, which is pretty cool and definitely very useful. But also, one other interesting thing is that the anti-aircraft trailer can be picked up with the cargo bob. So this is pretty crazy because you literally have a flying anti-aircraft trailer. It's a little bit tricky in order to shoot because you are limited in like how high and low you can aim. But imagine if you just saw this flying around. You could actually take out some jets, some other helicopters. So I thought that that was pretty cool. There's also a handful of the new vehicles that can be picked up. They're not exactly as efficient. Like, for example, I think you can cargo bob the APC, but it's ultimately way too heavy in order to be picked up. So I don't know if it's actually all that effective, but stuff like the anti-aircraft trailer works great, and it's something that can be lifted no problem. Moving on, something that's pretty cool about the Bravado half track is that it can actually go pretty deep in the water. So it's certainly not like water resistant, as you'll find out in this, but it can drive deeper in the water than most vehicles. And I'm not sure why this is the case. I don't know if like this vehicle was meant to do this in real life, but just know that if you encounter like a small stream or a river, that the half track will probably be able to drive through it no problem. Just be careful and don't test your luck too deep like I did, as if you go too far, if you submerge it, it definitely will get destroyed. But another cool feature of this awesome weaponized vehicle. Up next, did you know that the bunker actually has security cameras? So this could actually be useful if you're dealing with griefers or people camping outside of your bunker. You can use the security camera to kind of monitor what they're doing. And if you see outside that they're moving, that might be the time that you go out and attack or go out and try and escape or something like that. So use the security cameras. They're a little clunky, but in terms of being able to visibly see outside while you're inside, it's probably the best way in which you can do that. All right, the second to last thing we're going to be talking about today is a new feature. It's actually the jacket open and close and then the hood up and down feature. However, there are some differences that Rockstar didn't talk about. So you can obviously put a hood up or down, but there's some jackets as well that have the hood tucked in. So there's like a tucked and untucked hood option too, which is pretty cool. So you really just have to play around with a lot of the clothing to see what's going to ultimately work, which I think is pretty cool. And same with the jackets zipping up as well. You can have them open or closed, which would be zipped. And there's a lot of little different combinations. So try this out. It's a new feature in the interaction menu. I mentioned this on day one, but I didn't know there were so many different variables when it came to, deciding what look you're going to get based off of what article of clothing you end up choosing. And finally, last but not least today, if you're going to select a vehicle with the proximity mine upgrade, so for example, like the Tampa, don't spend your money on a horn. They use the exact same button that you have to click in the left stick on the controller. I don't know what it is on the PC or keyboard, but don't buy a horn if you're going to buy a proximity mine. Don't buy a proximity mine if you've got an expensive horn, because they use the same button and you're not going to be able to utilize them both in tandem with each other. You're just going to waste one or the other. But anyways, that's all the information I have for you guys in this video today. 15 new things you might not have known about the gun running update, including some tips and tricks, secret details, features, and so much more. As always, if you guys feel like I missed something, either let me know in the comment section down below or on Twitter. Tweet at me, say, hey, Ross, you missed this. This would be cool, and maybe I'll include it in a future video. However, if you guys did go and enjoy this one, though, a like rating would, of course, be awesome. And also, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new or you like daily GTA 5 videos like this. With all the way, guys, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Take care. I'll see you guys in the next video.